For the perfect holiday gift, look no further than Cozy Earth and their amazing collection of luxurious home products and clothing designed to keep you feeling comfy, calm, and stylish during those cherished moments of relaxation at home. I've been enjoying this fantastic bamboo pajama set that they sent me. Insanely soft and comfortable, criminally soft, I would even say. Also, check out their Cityscape collection of sweats designed for comfort and functionality, as well as their super soft and fluffy bath towels and much more. Find the perfect holiday gift at cozyearth.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for a huge 40% discount. The link is in the description. Welcome, everybody. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before the rebuilding can begin, and we have now hit rock bottom. The Republican Party has now taken not only the presidency, not only the Senate, but also the House of Representatives. Yesterday, officially securing, many had already called it, not everybody, officially securing as of yesterday, the 218 seats required to have a majority. There are still votes being counted, but what we know is that Republicans have gained a seat, Democrats have lost a seat, and as of this moment, it has it 218 to 208. That's 426 seats total accounted for, leaving 9 more pending results. So the rebuilding can now begin. Now, here, interestingly, I've been getting a lot of cameo requests over the last week. People saying, David, I need a pep talk for my sister. I need a pep talk for my mom. Give something positive to say. So here, you can't always make lemons out of lemonade because sometimes the lemons are rotten. I don't want to go off on a whole thing, but I was just reading a really good book, Stand Firm, by Sven Brinkman, a Belgian psychologist and philosopher. And he says, one of the criticisms of this self-improvement and coaching culture is it's always about find the positive and glass half full and optimism. The Stoics had a different view. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, they said negative visualization and just acknowledging, a horrible disease doesn't always have an upside. You don't have to always come out and say, I learned so much and I'm such a better. It might just suck and that's okay. And acknowledging that some things are just negative is okay. And it's mostly just negative that now Republicans are going to get the chance to nominate, Tulsi DNI and Matt Gaetz AG. We'll get to that. It's mostly horrible. If we have any silver lining or potential silver lining, it's that Republicans got exactly what they've been rallying for. They say we're better at everything. Everything's always better when we are in charge. The facts don't bear it out, but that's what they say. They have their unbeatable orange leader back in the driver's seat. They have the power. They can now show us how their governing genius will make everything awesome for everybody. And you know what? I hope they're right. I would rather have a good 4 years for the country than a crappy 4 years. So now we can sit back and wait for the cheap gas, the low inflation, the low interest rates, housing to become affordable, eggs to become affordable, milk to become affordable. We're going to have a triumphant trade victory over China with Trump's tariffs. The national debt will shrink like Trump promised. Economic growth will explode. Crime will go away. Obamacare will be replaced with something awesome. Immigration is going to be resolved and world peace will reign. And if that happens, you will see me on this show in 4 years saying he did it. He did it and he deserves to be rewarded. But remember the promises. We'll get to evaluate promises made, promises kept or not. And if it happens, I will congratulate the Trump administration and give credit and say I was wrong. Maybe that's just me. What I just criticize it no matter what? No, if they do it, I'll congratulate them. But if they don't, there will be no one to blame but them, because they will control the White House, they will control the Senate, and they will control the House. Now, of course, if they fail, you know what they will come up with. They will say, well, we had the Senate, but only with 54 seats or whatever it ends up being. We didn't have a supermajority. Democrats still blocked us. And okay, we had the House, but like only by 1 seat or a couple of seats. Democrats still blocked us. And then we'll get to evaluate. But if there is anything here, it's that they will now get to prove to us how awesome everything is when they are in charge. And if it's not, then we will hold them accountable. I want to be super clear and super careful in this next story. There are creators and pundits and influencers who have been talking about civil war as an imminent threat in the United States for years, and they do it irresponsibly. And it's the one hammer they have, so they go, that's a nail and that's a nail, civil war here, civil war there. I have never brought up civil war as a real possibility, and I'm going to bring it up today only in the most careful and serious way with a caveat. And the caveat is, if Donald Trump's deputy policy guy, Stephen Miller, gets his way with his deportation plan, it is plausible that we will have something that we would have to call sort of a civil war. Now, my hope is he doesn't get his way. I am not saying civil war is imminent, like Tim Pool has been saying for 5 years. I am saying that what Stephen Miller wants to do is so insane that it could, if he does it, cause a civil war. Now, let me explain here. We have to go back to a disturbing article in The Atlantic from February by Ronald Brownstein about Donald Trump's deportation plan, the architect of which is Stephen Miller. And in this article, there are 2 paragraphs that are very scary, and I will read them to you. Quote, how Trump and his advisors intend to staff such a program would make a prospective Trump deportation campaign even more volatile. Stephen Miller, Trump's top immigration advisor, has publicly declared that they would pursue such an enormous effort partly by creating a private red state army under the president's command. Miller says a re-elected Trump intends to requisition National Guard troops from sympathetic Republican-controlled states, and they then deploy them into Democratic-run states whose governors refuse to cooperate with their deportation drive. The article continues. Such deployment of red state forces into blue states over the objections of their mayors and governors would likely spark intense public protest and possibly even conflict with law enforcement agencies under local control. And that conflict itself could become the justification for further insertion of federal forces into blue jurisdictions, notes Joseph Nunn, counsel at the Brennan Center. Okay, let me give you the full list of problems with this idea, and there are many. Deploying National Guard from Republican states into Democratic states will pit state-level authorities against each other. And it's going to set up this red state troops versus blue state governors to enforce policies in blue states, even if the blue state governments say we are opposed to it. Now, at minimum, forget about any further analysis for now. At minimum, this would provoke massive public protests, especially in cities that are against these policies. And suddenly you will have the National Guard from, say, Pennsylvania doing crowd control on the streets of New York City. Now, that alone is a recipe for horrible, tragic disaster. Secondly, this would unquestionably overreach federal authority. To have one state's National Guard go do law enforcement in another state, completely outrageous. And on that note, the plan probably violates both the Constitution's protections against the misuse of federal power as well as state sovereignty. All sorts of legal problems here. Remember, they claim to defend the Constitution and support law and order, which is the opposite of this plan. They support that stuff except when they don't. The deployment of the National Guard usually requires a governor's consent. If you force red state National Guards into blue states, you're bypassing that authority. Not only will there be legal challenges, it could get much worse than that. And in addition, you have the Posse Comitatus Act, Comitatus, I don't know, which restricts the use of the military for domestic law enforcement. This is one of the problems with deploying law enforcement to the border with Mexico, as Trump has talked about, which is it seems to violate the Posse Comitatus Act. And when you use state troops in that way, you're arguably violating that. Now, this is where it gets even uglier. causing this chaos might actually be the plan. In other words, they may be looking to use this plan to spark protests, which they then use to justify more federal intervention. It's probably what they want. They use it to justify even more crackdowns. This is very dangerous territory. I hope it doesn't happen. I am not one of these MAGAs praying for civil war. I hope it doesn't happen. But more than anything else I've seen come out of the policy ideas of the forthcoming administration, it's this which would get me to say that might cause a civil war. I want to show you a video of what it means to be a man. No, I'm not going to show the video of the birth from health class in middle school. Of course, that's not what I'm talking about. Yesterday, President Joe Biden welcomed Donald Trump to the Oval Office. He did something that Trump did not have the testicular fortitude to do when Joe Biden defeated him in 2020. Joe Biden not only welcomed Trump to the White House, he said he would assist to ensure a smooth transition, something Trump didn't do. He will, I believe, attend the inauguration of Donald Trump because Joe Biden is actually the man that Donald Trump has always pretended to be. Take a look at these 40 seconds of video from their public sort of statement in the Oval Office.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President,
thank you.
Donald, congratulations.
Thank you.
And looking forward to having like we said, smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
Good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough. And it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today. And I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get. And I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
So listen, this is very different than what we saw 4 years ago. And we are now going to see what it was supposed to look like. And whether it is Trump's ego or Trump's narcissism or whatever, Trump was simply not able to do the most basic stuff here that President Joe Biden is indeed doing. When you think about the way things are supposed to work, you are reminded that it is not a question of money that allows you to just be a reasonable, good, moral person. You know, when you think of just basic humanistic values, empathy, cooperation for the betterment of your society and whatever. Joe Biden clearly doesn't like Donald Trump. Joe Biden, I can only assume, is disgusted at the sorts of attacks that Donald Trump levied against him, but he's still doing this. And it is a stark reminder that money can't buy class. Money cannot buy class. And I know that if you look at pictures of Trump's bathroom and you see a weird carpeted bathroom with a gold-plated chandelier, you know money can't buy class, right? So we knew that. We didn't need this White House meeting to remind us that money can't buy class. But it is very much the case that we are dealing with two very different types of people. And there are millions of Americans who have been sold a bill of goods that Donald Trump is the manly one and the intelligent one and the good one and the one who cares about other people. And not that we needed any more confirmation that that's not the case, but this 42-second meeting yesterday at the White House certainly confirms that. And I got a couple emails from people saying Biden shouldn't have done it. You know, Biden doesn't really prove anything by stooping to the level of Trump. If he doesn't invite Trump to the White House, as president-elects tend to be, if he doesn't go to the inauguration, Biden doesn't prove anything. And I know that a couple of you said Biden looks weak by doing this. It's subject to opinion, but to me, it's very clear that it is Biden who looks strong, and it's Trump who sits there. And look at the look on his face. It's Trump who should be humiliated because he is getting the peaceful transition that he never provided to Joe Biden. he is getting the adult welcome that he never provided to Joe Biden. So, you know, it's the end of Joe Biden's political career, and he is going out with class, which is more than Donald Trump can say for himself. I want to just give you a vignette of the weirdness and pathetic nature of what we are up against the next 4 years. Elon Musk has, in a way, supplanted J.D. Vance as the right side man to Donald Trump, and Musk is everywhere. Now, as you all know, I'm completely disgusted by all of this. I long ago sold my Tesla stock. I have a month left on my Tesla lease, and then we're going to flush it 10 to 15 times. I'm humiliated by the entire Musk thing. Did he advance electric vehicle technology rapidly and force legacy manufacturers of vehicles to come to the table with their electric cars? Yes, and that's objectively a good thing. But he seems to have lost his mind. So here is Elon Musk. Trump spoke to Republicans yesterday. For some reason that no one knows, Elon Musk was with him, and the Republicans gave Elon a standing ovation. Listen to this.
Elon has been celebrated.
Right. Wow. We have to prepare ourselves for the reality that, like a leech or parasite on a sperm whale, Elon Musk is going to be just kind of hanging around, attached to government for the foreseeable future, if and until he and Trump have a falling out. Last night at Mar-a-Lago, and if you have any question as to what Elon's goal here is, or Republicans' goal, there was the mention of a right-wing George Soros. And Elon Musk raises his hand and says, that would be me.
And many of us have long said, where is the George Soros of the right? Where do we find the
And there is Elon Musk proudly raising his hand and saying he is the George Soros of the right. Once again, principles only matter until they're inconvenient. They say they shouldn't be anybody like George Soros, no matter what George Soros's political views are. Except now they say, actually, it would be cool to have a Soros-like figure on the right, as long as they are right-wingers. Another principle they claim to care about, just poof, evaporates when it's inconvenient. Elon's going to be around, and if you think that's bad, just wait till after the break. I'll tell you who Trump nominated yesterday.
One of our sponsors today is Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth has the highest quality luxury products for every room in your home, bed and bath, clothing, candles, skincare, and more. They make great holiday gifts. Cozy Earth's goal is help you create a sanctuary within your home, a refuge from the demands of the outside world. Cozy Earth sent me this amazing bamboo pajama set. So soft, so comfortable, sleeping, lounging, the little bit of lounging I get to do. They have women's pajamas too. Cozy Earth's pajamas are designed for the cherished moments of relaxation, ensuring that you are cozy and stylish all season long. Also check out their Cityscape collection of sweats designed for comfort and functionality. Cozy Earth's Cityscape hoodie is the go-to for comfort on the move, a must-have loungewear staple. Never forget that the holidays are best spent lounging at home and staying comfortable. Cozy Earth is the best way to do it. From their amazingly soft bath towels, luxurious bath robes, slippers, a lot more. My favorite part is their commitment to responsible production of every product. Whether you're shopping for yourself or looking for the perfect holiday gift, take advantage of my exclusive 40% discount when you go to cozyearth.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is in the description.
The David Pakman Show is an audience-supported program. Appreciate everybody's support. Of course, memberships come with the daily bonus show, an extra show for our paid subscribers, as well as commercial-free audio and video streams of the show, access to the members-only soundboard, invites to members-only town hall events, and so many other things. I have 4 words for you. Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Ladies and gentlemen,
We are once again becoming a laughingstock. We were a laughingstock globally under Scrumps, and Trump isn't even president yet, and we are already going in that direction. Donald Trump has selected beleaguered former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Now, you might be saying, former Congressman, what do you mean? He resigned yesterday. It relates to an ethics investigation. We will get to that. If you thought random Fox News host for Secretary of Defense was bad, well, Trump has now nominated a guy investigated for underage prostitution to be his attorney general. This is the scariest pick so far, and he's giving Tulsi access to intelligence. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Now, here is Matt Gaetz saying when he spoke at CPAC that we've got to get rid of the FBI, the CDC, the ATF, and the DOJ. And he is theoretically, if he can pass confirmation hearings, going to be running the DOJ, the department he thinks should not even exist.
Government back on our side, or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them, if they do not come to heel.
Now, there is a chicken-egg situation here that we're still trying to figure out. As some of you know, there was an ethics investigation going on into Matt Gaetz because of these allegations of underage sex trafficking and horrible, horrible stuff that one of his buddies actually pled guilty to. Within minutes of Matt Gaetz' nomination, he resigned his seat in Congress. The ethics investigation was scheduled to come out in just a few days. Because the House of Representatives can only investigate sitting members of the body, you hit the body with an investigation, the ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz evaporates. Now, we can hope that it will leak or be published, but strictly speaking, it's not supposed to. So, what was the order of operations here? Was part of the reason that Trump selected Gaetz, a guy who has no business in the world being attorney general? Did Trump select him in order to save him from the ethics investigation? Did it come opportunistically that while Gaetz could certainly wait? I mean, there are some who say this guy won't get confirmed, so he might as well, he should have kept his seat in Congress before resigning so quickly. Was it opportunistic where he said, this is my get out of jail free card, now I will immediately resign in order to prevent the ethics report from coming out? We just don't know. What we can hope for right now is that his confirmation hearings are absolutely nuts, that the liaisons with underage women come out, and there's sort of there's two views on this. One view is he wasn't even nominated to be confirmed. The idea is like he's sort of a Harriet Miers type nominee, like what George W. Bush did, where Harriet Miers was nominated to the Supreme Court. It went so poorly, and she was clearly so unqualified that she ended up withdrawing, and then they put in somebody even worse. So there is a fear that if the Democrats and maybe some Republicans in the Senate are successful at blocking this nomination, that it will lead to whoever Trump really wants as AG, and it will be somebody less incompetent but far more weaponized. Or is this really who Trump wants and maybe we can get him blocked? We don't know, but if you're looking for early signs as to whether Republicans will be falling in line, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, let's take a look at that next. One of the people who has been very critical of Matt Gaetz is Senator Markwayne Mullin. I'm going to play for you in a moment some of the things that Markwayne Mullin has previously said about Matt Gaetz. They are horrible. But in the immediate, Markwayne Mullin went on CNN yesterday and said, I completely trust Trump's decision-making ability, even when it comes to someone that I think is dangerous, like Matt Gaetz. Listen to this.
Are you going to vote for Matt Gaetz?
You know, Matt Gaetz and I, there's no question that we've had our differences. They've been very public about it. I completely trust President Trump's decision-making on this one. But at the same time, he's got to come to Congress and sell himself. There's a lot of, or to the Senate and sell himself. There's a lot of questions that are going to be out there. He's got to answer those questions. And hopefully he's able to answer the questions right. And if he can, then we'll go through the confirmation process.
Senator Markwayne Mullin from the great...
Senator Mullen completely trusts Donald Trump's decision-making abilities. Mullen accused Gaetz of sleeping with underage girls, of showing people videos of the girls that he was sleeping with on the floor of the House of Representatives. He accused Gaetz of bragging publicly about taking erectile dysfunction medications in order to engage in sexual intercourse with the underage girls. And he says, oh, Matt Gaetz, I totally trust Trump's decision-making. Yeah, remember this interview?
You got to think about this guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before you got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day. All of a sudden he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November. And he's always stayed there, and he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion to vacate.
So listen, despite all of that, Mark Wayne Mullen says, I trust Trump's instincts on this, and most of them do seem to be bowing down. Here are Republican Senators Kevin Cramer and Ron Johnson. They certainly sound like they're going to go for Attorney General Matt Gaetz.
We all learned that lesson that time is of the essence. And I think Ron and I and our 51 colleagues are equally committed to the same thing.
You know, Senator Johnson, another very interesting and I think inspired cabinet choice was Pete Hegseth. Of course, I know him here from Fox, but he's, you know, a very smart guy, very well educated, Princeton and Harvard, distinguished military man with any number of bravery medals. He wrote a great book called War Against the Warriors. He wants to root out DEI and CRT and so forth. He's concerned about the way the Defense Department's going now. That's going to be controversial, I guess, although anybody knows Hegseth knows he's qualified to run the Pentagon. What do you make of that, Senator Johnson? That's a breath of fresh air, it seems to me, also.
Well, you used the term that I would apply to the people that President Trump is picking, smart. These are highly intelligent people, and that's kind of the first criteria.
There you go. Ron Johnson is satisfied that Trump is picking all smart people. And then here is Lindsey Graham saying basically, listen, as far as Matt Gaetz goes, Trump won. He gets to pick. He's bright. He's qualified.
He won the election. He deserves a chance to pick his cabinet. I am predisposed to allow him to do that. I think Matt Gaetz is very bright. I think he's qualified. He'll have a hearing, and he'll have some tough questions to answer. But to every Republican, please follow a process to give President Trump the ability to pick the people he thinks can do the job and give Matt a chance to prove himself.
And you have a history of that.
You know, the funny thing about assuming that Trump is able to pick people to do the jobs, it's that a lot of the people he picked in the first term couldn't do the jobs, and they ended up either resigning in shame or being fired by Trump, with Trump then coming up with explanations as to why it went south. So listen, if we zoom out, there are a lot of Republican voices who seem to be giving Trump carte blanche, a blank check, the keys to the city, do whatever you want. Sure, Senator Susan Collins from Maine was shocked that Matt Gaetz was nominated. We will see what happens in the confirmation hearings, but here is something really funny in response to the nomination of Gaetz. So Fox News host Larry Kudlow, who's also a former Trump economic advisor from Chapter 1 of the Trump presidency, which we also know as the first term, Larry Kudlow made an attempt at defending the nomination of Matt Gaetz. And it's so funny because he's coming up with a lot of stuff to say, but he doesn't even really seems like he believes it. He sort of seems like he's in physical pain, actually, while he's giving this defense of Gaetz. This is really, really funny. So there's what Kudlow is saying, and then there's how he's saying it and the look on his face as he does it. And he looks in physical pain here.
Gaetz went to Florida State College degree, got his law degree at respected William and Mary. He's a member of the Florida Bar in good standing. He practiced law privately. He just won his 5th term to Congress where he has served on the Judiciary Committee all during that time. And yes, there were some unproven ethics accusations that were made by the Biden Justice Department that came to nothing, just like all the other Biden weaponization lawfare charges aimed at President Trump. And yes, Mr. Gaetz is loyal to President Trump.
Right.
So, including Senator Rubio at the State Department and Tulsi Gabbard at the DNI,
Yikes.
and Mr. Gaetz at Justice, all those announced today, that comes to 20 top-level president-elect appointments in just 8 days. 20.
So Larry Kudlow going with the Trump's doing well because he's made a lot of choices in a short period of time. But the defense of Gaetz as a nominee beyond he has a law degree and was on the Judiciary Committee is pretty damn weak. Now, one outcome of Matt Gaetz confirmation hearings in the Senate would be he gets confirmed and becomes Attorney General. Another outcome that would seem more logical would be that he's let out in handcuffs. That's actually the one that seems more appropriate based on the things he's accused of doing. Of course, due process, innocent until proven guilty, all of those things obviously apply. But if you said to me, based on everything I know, this is not a court of law, but a court of public opinion, based on everything I know about Matt Gaetz, which is more appropriate? Putting him in charge of the Department of Justice or putting him in handcuffs? Handcuffs certainly do seem more appropriate. And I'm wondering, I'm just thinking out loud, is it possible that Trump thinks the Attorney General is the person who's supposed to be committing the crimes rather than prosecuting crimes? I don't know. But if he believed that, it would make a lot more sense to nominate Matt Gaetz. Don't forget that the best way to support the David Pakman Show is by becoming a member, which gives you access to the daily bonus show, the regular show with no commercials. You also get access to our entire archive of every episode dating back a really long time and plenty of other awesome membership perks. Go to joinpakman.com, joinpakman.com. It's great to welcome back to the program today Tim Miller, host of the Bulwark Podcast, a never Trumper and former RNC spokesperson. Tim, I don't know, we could start in any one of many different places. We could talk about DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, or AG Matt Gaetz. We could do a postmortem on what happened to Kamala Harris's campaign. I guess, let me put it this way. What's seeming most salient to you right now in terms of what will happen over the next 2 and 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just this trio of appointments, beginning with Hegseth. The Hegseth, I think, was a wake-up call for people. It's funny. My personal reaction to it was almost like relief is the wrong word, but like kind of like this exhale after the week of dealing with the election, because everyone else, I think, who haven't seen things as clearly as we have, I think that there was a false expectation about what was going to happen after the election, and the Hegseth appointment to me kind of brought everybody into alignment with reality, or slowly people are coming into alignment with reality, because I think that those trio together, Hegseth, Gabbard, and Gaetz, they are unqualified in their own ways. They're troubling in their own ways. But what is uniting about them is how Trump is going to see this next administration, and it's going to be fully based on loyalty. It is going to be clownish in certain ways, but it is going to have people that have specific objectives that they want to get across that are very contrary to what kind of the bipartisan consensus has been, about how to manage a federal government. And all three of them are far outside the norm. It's funny to see people like Gaetz might not get confirmed. It's like all three of them are far outside of the norm for what anyone has nominated before, including Trump in his first term. And so I think it's quite clarifying, and we can talk into some of the details about what I worry about with each of them. But I think that they're of a piece with each other.
One of the things that I've been noticing, and I'm wondering if you agree, is that there seems to be a confidence sort of floating around, an aura of confidence around Trump, the people around him, the people being nominated. Everybody has a serious confidence here. And part of it seems to be the perception, which maybe is reality, that there was some kind of landslide mandate giving result last week. Now, some of that is based on the popular vote results, which are narrowing and narrowing. And right now, Trump's popular vote lead is smaller than Hillary's victory margin in 2016. So that's unclear to me in terms of, is it a mandate? Some of them will point to grew the percentage of these demographic groups. And so like just everybody kind of voted for him and, whatever. Do you see, is it about I have nothing else to run for that might give a level of confidence to do these types of things? Or is it the election results that's giving the confidence? Or what do you think it is?
I think that there was an expectations game beating that's giving them a little bit of the confidence, right? Like to win the popular. I don't think even the Trump people thought they were going to win the popular vote, to be honest. I think the Trump people did think that they were going to win the electoral college. And I thought that he very well could. I thought it was a flip. But I was surprised that he won the popular vote. And so I think that like life's about expectations. There's a little bit, I think that they have a little bit, their chests are out a little bit because of that expectations beat in the popular vote, even if it ends up being very narrow. But really, David, like what it is a total takeover, root and branch of the Republican Party. And I think that is what is driving a lot of this confidence, which is that there's nothing like people, in some level, Trump's taken over the party since 2016, right? Spring of 2016. But still, it's different. In 2017, people don't remember. Paul Ryan's still the speaker. Mitch is running the Senate. Trump kind of outsourced policy to them, really, for the first year or two. And Paul, who was cowardly in so many ways, stood up to Trump from time to time, right?
Yep.
And there was and Elise Stefanik was anti-Trump still. Our new UN ambassador was anti-Trump still up until 2018, up until the Ukraine impeachment, really. And so, so he had control of the voters, but he didn't have control of the apparatus of the party. I think he is coming in with extreme confidence and that he has control of the entire party and he's going to dare people to stop him. And I think that there are a lot of people that are working in a 2017 mindset out there that are like, oh, these confirmations could be tough and John Thune might. And I'd love to be wrong, but I just don't see it. I think that I think that he's right, that they are all going to fold to him. And I think that the confidence comes from that knowledge in addition to the kind of surprising popular vote win.
With the three picks you mentioned, when I look at the three of them, I say, okay, Hegseth, history of unhinged hawkishness, that scares me. Tulsi, it's the Russia stuff and her complete lack of qualification. And then with Matt Gaetz, this does seem like the guy who will weaponize the Justice Department against Trump's political adversaries. What are your three concerns?
Yeah, same. I mean, Gaetz is the only one of the three that I know personally from my time as a Republican, which is now over officially, if it was ever any doubt. And Gaetz is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. I saw a newsletter today from a lefty lawyer who I respect, who's like, Gaetz is too stupid to work the DOJ. And I don't see that. Matt Gaetz is a very savvy person. He's demonstrated his savvy a lot of times. And he's not a buffoon. And so will he know how to work the levers of the Justice Department in an efficient enough way to target folks? You know what I mean? That's sure. There are questions. Will he be able to deal with the career lawyers there and like how long will it take to really wrest control from that? Like all of that, I think is a question. But I think that Gaetz is savvy, and I think that people and I think that definitely there will be a weaponization targeting the people I think I'd be the most worried about are those who investigated Trump. Right. So people that were involved in the Russia investigation, people involved in the impeachment. I think that's the first circle. And I think we'll learn a lot from what they do there. I think Hegseth, on the other hand, is a clown, and he's running the biggest, government apparatus. He's running the U.S. military. There are 3 million employees, uniformed and non-uniformed. He's never run anything in his life. He ran a nonprofit where he hired his brother and I think 2 other employees. And he's been a weekend Fox and Friends host for 8 years. So I worry about that being incompetence, like, and how what could be the downstream effects of his incompetence. Tulsi, I worry, I don't know her. And so maybe I'm wrong, but I sense that she has a screw loose, and I worry a little bit about a General Flynn type situation.
Yeah.
He's been totally red-pilled and is believing conspiracy, and having somebody like that in charge of our intelligence, to me, I actually can't even wrap my mind around the threats, because I think that it might be outside of our imagination for the types of things we could see.
Well, let's explore that a little bit more, Tim, because one of the things I've said before is like there's a couple of figures kind of like loosely in this space There's this guy, Dave Rubin. I don't know if you're familiar with Dave
Yeah,
Rubin.
of course, yeah.
We've got Tulsi now. There's this host, Jimmy Dore, where relatively late in life, they had supposed complete 180s with regard to their politics.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know how that happens. And you are someone who has also had a shift, but you seem sane to me, to be perfectly frank, in a way that they don't always. And so I kind of wonder, do you start to get captured where you think you're going to get play and attention and maybe money and access to power, and you don't really believe this stuff at first, but then you go, maybe I do kind of believe this stuff. These people are being nice to me. Is it an overt grift? Are you so clueless in your first political life that then when you find, maybe you were like, you had the wrong views all along and then you stumble across them? Like, do you think it's genuine with someone like a Gabbard? I just don't know.
Yeah, usually I would say it doesn't matter, actually, because like the net result is the same. But in this case, I think it does. It's a question that does matter, because if it's a genuine swish, if it's a grift, right, then it's kind of like she's going to go along to get along in there, do a couple of ostentatious things for the PR to keep Trump happy. And it's not great, but like the risks are potentially small.
Okay.
If it's a Flynn situation, right, where fully red-pilled, genuine switch, buying the conspiracy theories of the deep state, and she has the whole apparatus of DNI at her beck and call, and she's got Donald Trump and the people around him encouraging her. Yeah, I mean, that worries me. I think back to 2016, right? And it's like I was as deranged about warning about Trump as anyone in America. But even then, if you'd said to me, here's a picture from 2020, the Capitol is stormed, Trump flag, smoke. Like, do you think this is real? I think I probably would have been like, I don't know. That seems a little out there. Like I had more ordinary concerns, right? To me, like that's how I'm going into this next round. Is I think that I have concerns about Tulsi that are kind of outside of ordinary, that are outside of our imagination. And I don't want to like speculate on what that is. I guess I'm just saying that I think that we should be a little bit more open-minded about what the potential threats are.
Do you think that this is if Trump gets these people that we know of so far all confirmed, is this a dangerous group of people at the helm of the government?
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that they'll get through. Again, I could be wrong. I've been wrong, but I think that the party is going to submit to him.
Could any of these be sacrificial nominations, like the Harriet Miers thing? You don't think so?
No, my colleague Mark Caputo is as well sourced as anybody in MAGA world, and he's like, Trump wants Matt Gaetz to be the attorney general.
Okay.
Might a couple Republicans like retiring, like Mitch McConnell's going to retire? Might a couple of them decide to grow a spine? I don't know. Who knows? I couldn't have predicted what Mike Pence's line was going to be. He went along all the way till the very last day. These guys all, maybe not all of them, but many of them have a line somewhere. So maybe Matt Gaetz is that line. But then I think Trump will try to do the recess appointment thing. And I also don't think that there's anybody should assume that the replacement for Matt Gaetz would necessarily be better, right? I mean,
no, it might be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. So I think that they're dangerous. I do. And again, I like the question is it a danger of incompetence or is it in a danger of malice? Some combination of both. And I think that remains to be seen. And I think that despite the fact we're in year 9 of this, people are still underestimating just how wild it could get.
Let me switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Kamala Harris did a number of things, at least theoretically, to make inroads with Republicans. She did a little campaigning with Liz Cheney. She said many times, I will be everyone's president. I'm not. She declined to take the bait on attacking Trump supporters in a number of different high-profile interviews. She did a bunch of different things. Okay. She got about 5% of the Republican vote. Biden got 6% in 2020. I think Hillary got 7% in 2016. What happened?
Well, part of that is that some of the Republicans aren't Republicans anymore. So like there's a shift. To me, I look less at the actual Republican numbers than I look at the counties.
Okay.
Right? Where did Harris do either better than Biden or equal? The Atlanta suburbs, right? Some of those people, they might not be Republicans anymore, but they used to be Republicans. I look at, and so I listen to criticisms from the left where they're like, she spent too much time trying to reach these people. She should have focused more on other groups. Maybe that's true. But I think that when all is said and done, if you look at the results, Kamala Harris did essentially about even among maybe even up a tiny bit among the college-educated, one-time Republican voters, however you want to call it. Like maybe not current Republicans, but people that had voted Republican before. And so I think that the campaign was fine in that regard. There was some expectation that there was going to be bigger growth there.
Right.
And so that obviously didn't come to pass. I have some thoughts on why. The problem though is the drop among Trump continued to run up the score among rural Republicans, and then this drop in urban settings and in highly in communities of color, Hispanic, across the board, Arab, Hispanic, Asian even, and so particularly working class men. And so, that's a massive problem for the Democratic Party. Her message wasn't resonating with them. I don't think that she thought that the Liz Cheney events were supposed to resonate with them. I think that they were doing a lot of other stuff on ads about middle-class jobs and like the other parts of things. And so to me, it's I think that it's easy to say, well, she shouldn't have done the 3 events with Liz Cheney. I don't think that had an impact one way or the other. I think that the problem was that clearly the message for working class voters of all races didn't land. And I think that's something the Democrats need to reflect on. And maybe that's about policy. Maybe it's about messenger. I think that and I'm kind of open-minded about the potential solutions. Maybe there is no solution, and maybe like we just need Donald Trump's tariffs to cause a recession, and working class people will be like, oh wait, I didn't want that actually, and come back, and the Democrats don't need to change anything, right? Like the Republicans lost last time, they didn't change anything, and they won this time, right? So sometimes you can overanalyze, but that would be my brief assessment, and I'm happy to talk more about any of those elements.
I want to get your take on one of the things that we're hearing from some is the decision not to do the Rogan program had an outsized role. I struggle to think that one decision really had an outsized role, but what I have talked about is that the right does have an excellent ecosystem of media and interviews. And sometimes they're not even overtly right-wing, but sometimes they are. I'm talking about Patrick Bet-David, Rogan, Theo Vaughn. I'm not even saying all these people are right-wingers, but it generates this kind of environment where it ends up pushing people that way. The Nelk Boys, Lex Friedman, shows I've even done, and they're completely fine with me. We just don't really have that on the left. And Brian Tyler Cohen and I were talking about how it's hard to even just get a random congressperson to show up, and they'll reschedule 5 times and eventually give you 13 minutes. And I do think there is something missing on the left as far as the ecosystem that generates social interest. Do you agree?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think the one thing the left isn't really necessarily missing is what you and Brian are doing. I think like overtly left stuff exists. The politicians could have more buy into that. Is it bigger on the right? Probably. So could it be built out more? Sure. But to me, I think the big problem is the people you were talking about, like the Theo Vons, Nelk Boys, right? The non-overtly political cultural commentary spaces, right?
Yep.
For particularly for non-elites, right? Like the Democrats are doing fine on cultural commentary with elites, but for non-elites. And the Democrats aren't trying to go there, right? Like that, to me, and do they have any, like, who could you think of off the top of your head that's like a Democrat that you're like, I think that they do very well with Theo Vaughn. So it's hard to kind of think of some names. I can think of a couple, but even like nobody that jumps straight out. Maybe Fetterman, something, right? But Theo, I'm from Louisiana. Theo's from Louisiana. I know him better than the other people, so I'll just use him as an example. If people don't know, he was on Real World Road Rules. He's non-political. He's MAGA-ish culturally, but he also had Bernie on.
Yep.
He's open. He thinks that there should be more regulations on pharmaceuticals. Like that's a random issue he cares about. That's a Democratic coding issue, right? And the Democrats didn't try to go talk to him, and the Republicans did. And so to me, the ecosystem sure could grow, but to me, it's the politicians are not engaging in broad enough worlds. And I think that you could also, we spend a lot of time talking about the White Bro podcast, but you could also talk about cultural podcasts that appeal more to people of color or Spanish speaking, right? Like, and I think that I do think it was a failure, and I don't think the one Rogan interview would have mattered. And I don't actually think that Kamala Harris, for all her strengths, would have been that great in those settings. And I think the Democrats should start thinking about who are politicians that can do well in those settings because that's where the media is going, right? Like that's the future. Doing good speeches and good conventions. That just has more. It's not nothing, but it has more limited impact than it did in 2004.
We've been speaking with Tim Miller. Check out the Bulwark podcast and the YouTube channel. Tim, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
All right, David. Let's have you on the other side, and we'll switch the microphones around and do it again sometime.
If you value what we do at the David Pakman Show, remember to support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show, where you can get access to behind the scenes videos, the daily bonus show, the commercial-free daily show. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Former Democratic Congresswoman, now an independent Trump supporter, Tulsi Gabbard, has been selected by Donald Trump to be the Director of National Intelligence. You know, let's just give Putin an office at the White House and be done with it. Why are we even going to pretend? Here is Tulsi Gabbard back in 2022, parroting Russian talking points about Ukrainian biolabs.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. Now, like COVID, these pathogens know no borders. If they are inadvertently or purposely breached or compromised, they will quickly spread all throughout Europe, the United States, and the rest of the world, causing untold suffering and death. So in order to protect the American people, the people of Europe, the people around the world, these labs need to be shut down immediately.
This was verbatim Russian propaganda. It backfired so spectacularly that Tulsi later went back and tried to clean it up by saying, I just meant it's bad to have this stuff in a war zone. It's not specifically about Russia, Ukraine, COVID, whatever. And of course, the idea even generally that Tulsi Gabbard has any business directing national intelligence, never mind even having a security clearance, is absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. As always, there's funny tweets to look back at. Remember when in 2018, Tulsi tweeted, hey, Donald Trump, being Saudi Arabia's bitch is not America first. My, how things have changed. And of course, there's much, much more. In 2019, she tweeted, President Trump's actions make the American people and our country less safe, while wasting taxpayer dollars to pay for the new arms race and nuclear weapons, dollars that should be used to address the needs of our people and communities right here at home. Tulsi tweeting also in 2019, President Trump's reckless decision to pull out of the INF treaty heightens this threat by exacerbating the new Cold War, sparking a new arms race between the U.S. and Russia, and bringing us ever closer to nuclear holocaust. The receipts are brutal, and I could go on. So there's two things here. First of all, this is sort of like a Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore, whoever thing, okay? I don't know whether they realized where the gravy train was, and so they just pretend to have done a political 180 in middle age, or whether they have been so captured by, I've got access to Trump, they invite me to this, they invite me to that, that they've convinced themselves that actually these are the right points of view. But it's not normal as an adult of 35, 40, 45, 50. I don't know how old Jimmy Dore is. He might be close to 60. It's not normal unless you were painfully clueless and had no business even commenting on this stuff, to have a 180 politically at that point in time. I get the 13-year-old who gets exposed to Andrew Tate, and then when you're 17, you actually find real experts on stuff and you go, I just did a 180. I understand the 18-year-old who in high school ends up with one set of political beliefs, and then you go through college and a few years of work, and at 26, you go, my views have really changed. One way or the other. Some people get more conservative, some people get more liberal. I get that. As you get to 35, 40, 45, 50, it starts to get really weird. So that's one aspect of this, which is I don't even know that I believe that Tulsi really did the political 180 she did. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But more importantly, she has no experience with the intelligence community. In Project 2025, the authors advocate for giving the director of national intelligence more power. And now Trump is going to follow that and make Tulsi Gabbard the position that has that the individual that holds that position with more power. And as I think back to Hillary Clinton wasn't right about everything. She wasn't. But she seems to have been right about this when she suggested that Tulsi Gabbard is a favorite of the Russians. And that seems to be the case. Remember that this is the same Tulsi that Russian state media called our friend. She met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in 2017, which was seen as legitimizing that regime, which is something that Russia absolutely supports. She constantly opposed U.S. intervention in Syria. I'm all about non-interventionism, but once again, it's when it happens to align with Russia's interests. During the 2020 election cycle, we had these reports of Russian bots and trolls amplifying Tulsi Gabbard's messages on social media because they help to point to destabilizing the American status quo. And it is all just playing directly into Putin's hands. So putting someone with these sympathies for foreign adversaries at this important position at this time in particular is not America first. Whatever Trump thinks America first is, Tulsi as DNI is certainly not America first. So now we get to the 30,000-foot view. It brings me no pleasure to report to you today that if Donald Trump gets his selections confirmed, our intelligence agencies and the White House will be fully compromised. Putin can manipulate Trump. We know that. He's done it before. He'll do it again. I don't know. Putin denied hacking very strongly. And why would he hack anyway? It doesn't make sense. No, he was very strong in his denial. All right. So Putin manipulates Trump. We know that. Elon Musk, who is going to co-lead Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as some are calling it, he has amplified pro-Russian propaganda many times in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war and in other scenarios. He now controls Twitter and is going everywhere with Trump. He seems to be with Trump. He's at Mar-a-Lago. He's meeting with Republicans. And at least for now, Twitter remains a major platform. Many users are heading for the exits, by the way. I'm on Blue Sky. Please find me there. That really is me on Blue Sky. Great platform alternative to Twitter. But so Trump will have he'll be manipulated by Putin. Elon Musk, who also has been manipulated by Russian propaganda, controls Twitter. Tulsi, with her history of amplifying pro-Russian propaganda and doing Putin's bidding, will be director of national intelligence. A clueless Fox host will be the Secretary of Defense. And the nominated CIA director, John Ratcliffe, was a purveyor of 2020 election conspiracy theories, and he will be leading, in theory, the Central Intelligence Agency. This is really, really, really bad. It's a shit show. I apologize for the language. And I'm not talking about Donald Trump's toilet flushing problems that he keeps reporting to us. It's a shit show. I expected it to be bad. I expected it to be worse than the first term. But even I didn't think it would be this pathetic and humiliating. We are not going to have adults in the room for a long time and then throw on top of it Matt Gaetz as potentially Attorney General. It is very bad. So hopefully the city or town you live in is run by sane people. Maybe the state you live in has a sane governor or a state legislature and or state senate that is somehow connected to reality. I hope that that's the case for you. That's what I'm kind of taking, some comfort in for these upcoming years. But it's looking like it's going to be worse than even I expected. And my expectations were very, very low. Just to sort of wrap today with something a little less serious, but also kind of scary. We've talked about how Trump and Elon now seem to be best friends, to the extent that Trump has friends. Of course, as soon as Elon says, I'm not so sure about this policy or that policy, it'll be over. You'll never see Elon near Trump again. My hope was that a lot of the Elon weirdness, the jumping around and just the weird stuff would stop after the election. No. Last night, I guess this was at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not even sure. Here are Trump and Elon awkwardly standing on stage while a guy sings. Why are they so weird? Tim Walz was right. This is a preview of what we will have the next 4 years, but there's actually a more important substantive message here. Check this out. I really don't know what Elon's role is in this entire thing, but I jokingly said before, JD Vance seems to have been replaced by Elon as acting VP running mate. This was before the election. It sort of seems like Elon is even replacing JD as Trump's right-hand guy. And I'll be honest, compared to Elon, JD seems so boring and uninteresting that if you're Trump and you're like, I can have JD with me at everything, or I can have Elon here, I'll go with Elon. Also, Trump is impressed by rich people and Elon is much, much wealthier than Donald Trump. And so, nobody elected Elon Musk to anything. Trump and Elon are sort of acting as if Elon did get elected to something. And the takeaway here is twofold. Number one, on a superficial level, the bizarre optics and strange behavior are going to continue. The standing on stage while people sing or play music, the palling around with Elon Musk. If you zoom out for a second, imagine if we learned that a billionaire and his little kid were following Joe Biden around everywhere. And when Joe Biden met with congressional leaders, the billionaire and his son were there. And when Biden went to his Delaware home, the billionaire and his son were there every day, day in and day out. They would be talking about it 24/7 on right-wing media. They just pretend it's normal when it's Trump and Elon. But secondly, the whole people hanging around thing, it's not going to just be a strange veneer. It's going to have real consequences. Matt Gaetz hanging around with Trump for the last couple of years now has led to the nomination of Gaetz as Attorney General. Tulsi doing a 180 and placating Trump and kissing Trump when he introduces her at events and saying she's found her way. Weird veneer. She now has been nominated to be the Director of National Intelligence. So the repercussions are real. That's the sad part. We've got a great bonus show for you today. We will talk to you about the changeover in terms of Senate leader for the Republicans. We will talk about how DOGE may work, the Department of Government Efficiency. And we also will talk about the joke that maybe Trump will run again in 2028. And is it really a joke or not? All of those stories and more on today's bonus show.
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money.
Yes.
Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Let's make some money on the bonus show. Sign up at joinpacman.com. Pre-order my forthcoming book, The Echo Machine, anywhere books are sold. I'll see you on the bonus show, and I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching today's show. I just want to take a second to tell you about today's sponsors. For the perfect holiday gift, look no further than Cozy Earth and their amazing collection of luxurious home products and clothing designed to keep you feeling comfy, calm, and stylish during those cherished moments of relaxation at home. I've been enjoying this fantastic bamboo pajama set that they sent me. Insanely soft and comfortable, criminally soft, I would even say. Also, check out their Cityscape collection of sweats designed for comfort and functionality, as well as their super soft and fluffy bath towels and much more. Find the perfect holiday gift at cozyearth.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for a huge 40% discount. The link is in the description.